Hello everyone, Speedrunner 0 to 18 here, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are doing our first edited Pokemon Red run with Magneton. Magneton is a unique electric-type Pokemon that has a base stat total of 465, making it seem like a great choice for a solo run. It does have 50 HP, which is quite bad, 60 attack, which is far from desirable, 95 defense, which is decent, especially against ground-type attacks, 120 special, and 70 speed. It's a well-rounded Pokemon that can hold its own in battles. However, Magneton doesn't learn many moves via level up, with our best ones being Sonic Boom, Thunder Shock, and Swift. Also, what's unfortunate is that our best move by TM is Thunderbolt, and other than that, just the same generic moves like Takedown, Double Edge, Mimic, Bide, Toxic, the moves that most other Pokemon get. One of the biggest challenges of this solo run is Magneton's limited move coverage. While it has a high special attack stat, it's going to be difficult to take down rock and ground types. That's why we'll be relying heavily on Thunderbolt for most of the hard fights, but for the rock and ground types or just pure ground types, they're not affected by Thunderbolts, so we'll have to use our normal attacks, which uses our weaker attack stat. Plus they have much higher defense anyway, so this is going to be a pain. Overall, I think this run's going to be unique and exciting, so hopefully Brock, Giovanni, and Bruno are nice to me today. But to find out, let's get into it. We start the run upon pressing New Game, since with Game Hook in Gens 1 and 2, I can freeze the DVs, which are the IVs of this game, to the max. So now no need for any save editors, which is kinda nice. It's been a while since we had the Game Hook overlay. We've done Pokemon Yellow plenty of times on the channel, but rarely ever Pokemon Red and Blue. Unless you've been watching my streams with Steve M Plays, but Pokemon Red has a lot of differences to Yellow. The first difference is the rival. Since I always replace the grass starter, my rival choose Charmander. I start off with Sonic Boom, Tackle, and Thunder Shock. With my special stat being better, usually Thunder Shock is the way to go, but for the very early game, since Charmander has less than 20 HP, one Sonic Boom which does a flat 20 damage is enough for the knockout. I go through Route 1 to Viridian City, deliver the parcel to Oak, and I can skip the Martin Pewter and just fight the optional rival. In Pokemon Yellow, the Martin Viridian sells pokeballs, so I can just do my shopping there instead of Pewter, but in Red, I have to wait till after Brock to catch my HM users. Anyway, the reason I'm fighting the optional trainers, including the optional rival, is because even though Sonic Boom can 2-hit Brock's Pokemon, my Magneton would be too low of a level to survive the incoming blows. In the Viridian Forest, I defeat all the bug catchers for the much needed experience. Plus in Red version, some of the grass tiles are bugged and do not spawn encounters, so if I take the right path, encounters are much less frequent in this game. While in Yellow, Viridian Forest is like Mount Moon Jr., but Mount Moon Sr. is still a problem in both games. After the forest, I enter the gym and take on Brock. He starts off with Geodude, which goes for Defense Curl, and I take it out with 2 Sonic Booms. On the Onix, I miss Sonic Boom, and then it goes for Bide, and then I hit another one, but unfortunately it gets a 2-turn Bide, so it deals 40 damage back to me with Bide, and I get my first reset. But on the next try, I don't miss a Sonic Boom, and I win the fight. With the Boulder Badge obtained and a 12.5% boost to attack, I heal at the center, go to the mart to buy some Pokeballs, potions, antidotes, and paralyze heals. I take on the trainers on Route 3. These trainers are very easy with Thunder Shock, since at this point stuff is surviving Sonic Boom when they may not survive Thunder Shock. But I still use Sonic Boom at times to save power points on Thunder Shock, since I won't be healing at Mount Moon since I already did that in Pewter. After I defeat the mandatory trainers, I go in the grass to catch a Pidgey for Fly. If I had caught a Spearow, I can trade it for a Farfetch'd in Vermilion City, which learns Cut and Dig so I can skip Paris, but I would need a Geodude for Dig. There are a lot of HM user variety in this game, unlike in Yellow, where you just catch a Pidgey and then Charmander and Squirtle are just given to you. While in Mount Moon, I get the rare candy and escape rope to get out of Bill's house later, which you can't do in Yellow, and then I skip the trainers here to defeat the Rocket Grunt and Super Nerd near the end. They were both very easy, although the Rattata likes to be a troll with critical hits, but I still win both fights on the first try luckily. I then get the Helix fossil, enter Cerulean City, use the center, get the rare candy, and take on Rival 2. The Pidgeotto is a speed tie with me unfortunately, despite the training I did, and I do get hit with a sand attack, which causes me to miss so many dang sonic booms on Abra, but luckily it's an Abra, and the Rattata and the Charmander are able to be defeated quite quickly while I remained in green health. Now for the Route 24-25 Gauntlet of Trainers. This gauntlet was very easy for Magneton. Thundershock on everything but the Oddish and the Geodudes. Those Pokemon I use Sonic Boom for the flat 20 damage. I also pick up the Elixir after the Hiker to save a trip to the center, and then at the end of the gauntlet I get the Emergency Ether, Rescue Bill, get the SS ticket, escape rope back to Cerulean City, defeat the Innocent Bystander with my level much higher, and now that I'm guaranteed to outspeed the Staryu at this point, which is the reason I delayed Misty, I defeat all the trainers in her gym and then take her on. Staryu is fortunately a one-hit with Thundershock, which I was honestly expecting to be a two-hit, but I guess I shouldn't underestimate Magneton's great special. And another reason not to underestimate Magneton is that Water Gun from Starmie did virtually nothing, so I win this fight on the first try. With the Cascade Badge in my possession, I enter Route 6 from the underground, defeat the junior trainers guarding Vermilion City, and go straight to the ship. Even though this move is not as useful in Yellow due to the red and blue Pokemon just flat out sucking, Magneton has such a limited move pool, this will actually be helpful, so I pick up the TM for rest. I then get the Gentleman Candy and take on Rival 3. This is honestly one of the easiest rival battles for Magneton, especially since he doesn't have his Execute yet. I don't know why I tried using Thundershock on a Kadabra, but I guess it doesn't matter since I'm pretty sure my tackle wouldn't kill it, and I know for sure Sonic Boom wouldn't kill it either. I then get cut, leave the ship, buy some super potions and repels, especially extra super potions, teach Cut and Dig to Paris, skip the trash can puzzle thanks to Gamehook, and I can take on Lieutenant Surge. In Pokemon Yellow, Surge has just a Raichu and random AI, but in Red version he has 3 Pokemon and good AI, so let's see how this goes. Thundershock is resisted by all, so I'm just spamming Sonic Boom. But at least Magneton also resists electric moves, and good news is that in Red version, Raichu has no normal attacking moves, so I can defeat Surge on the first try with confidence, especially since his Raichu doesn't have Mega Punch or Mega Kick, which would be quite terrifying. With the 12.5% boost to my defense stat, I get the Bike Voucher, Dig Out, which you can't do in Yellow, get the bike, and then I do the Route 9 Rock Tunnel Gauntlet. The Wrapping Lass is actually quite tricky. None of her Pokemon are one-hits with Thunderbolt, but luckily the Oddish do not use Stun Spore to get Magneton potentially in a Para-Wrap scenario, plus I did forget to heal. Luckily though, I live on 5 HP, and with 3 seconds taken off my life, I can finally move on. The next difficult trainer is the Pokemaniac with the Cubone. I have to use Sonic Boom on the Cubone for the 3-hit, and it only has Bone Club as an attacking move, but luckily it only hits me one time since it's not 100% accurate. The final difficult trainer here is the self-destructing Hiker. I have to defeat the Geodude and Graveler with 3 Sonic Booms each, or they blow themselves up. I cannot survive 3 explosions though, so I need to defeat at least one of them. On attempt number 1, the first Geodude crits me with self-destruct, and I just give up the attempt, so I started using Tackle for the reset. On attempt number 2, the first Geodude does not blow up in my face, but the second one does, and it crits me again, so the Graveler is able to take me out. Dude, Geodude has only a 3.9% chance to crit, that is so stupid. On attempt number 3, Geodude number 1 blows up, as well as number 2, but at least they weren't crits. But now I cannot survive a self-destruct from Graveler, so I hope I can take it out with my 3 Sonic Booms, but Graveler had other plans. Okay, attempt number 4, will this be a win? The answer is yes. The first 2 Geodude do not blow up, so I fish for a self-destruct on Graveler since I ran out of Sonic Booms, and I do get it, but it crits me again, and I barely live in red health. Jeez, this hiker is the crit machine with the slowest Pokemon in the whole damn game. With the difficult trainer out of the way, I enter Celadon City, heal at the center, and do shopping. I purchase some Super Repels, 2 Pokedolls since I will be getting Mimic, 1 water for the Saffron City Guard, and today's Vitamin of the Day is a Carbos. Magneton already has very high special, and I do need more speed, so this was the best vitamin to buy. I obtain the HM for Fly from the Fly Girl, teach it to Pidgey, and fly back to Lavender Town to take on Rival 4. This fight is oftentimes quite easy, but with no easy way to take out the Execute, just like Magneton is currently facing. It can put me to sleep with Hypnosis, but to be honest, the good news is that the Execute here does not have Stun Spore or Leech Seed yet, which he does at the Rival 5 battle. But once I'm past Execute, the Gyarados, Kadabra, and Charmeleon are very easy, despite me hitting myself in Confusion twice in a row thanks to, Confusion. I use the Pokédoll on Marowak, rescue Mr. Fuji from Team Rocket, and then I get the TM for Swift even though I never used it. I don't know why I did that, but oh well, it's time for the Safari Zone crap. I enter Cycling Road, get the rare candy, and in the Safari Zone I get the Carbos, Full Restore, Protein, Gold Teeth, and Surf. I use the vitamins on Magneton, and then I dig out, which you can do in both red and yellow. So much of the world is now open to me, so the first place I go to is Silph. Now that I think about it, I could have made this section easier by doing Erica and Koga first, which was totally doable, but I really just wanted to get Silph done so I can fly back here later to get Mimic. I then get the card key on the ground, as well as the 5th floor Protein, 7th floor Calcium, and then the 10th floor Carbos and Rare Candy, and then back on the 5th floor, the TM for Takedown. This is our most powerful physical move that we have access to right now, since the TM for Double Edge is locked in the Rocket hideout behind 2 optional trainers. But I think it may have been worth it to potentially avoid resets. Anyway, this is the rival fight I've been dreading, so now it's time for Rival 5. I have the moves Rest and Takedown taught to Magneton over Tackle and Thundershock. The Pidgeot can only be bad if it uses Sand Attack, which it doesn't, and then next up is Execute. I have to use Takedown on it, but once it uses Reflect, I opt for Thunderbolt. But I somehow get a very great roll, and I move on without Stun Spore or Leech Seed. And thanks to not having either of those status moves inflicted on me, I win on the very first try, which I did not expect at all. I then get the Lapras for Surf and Strength, and then I have to defeat the Rocket before Giovanni. I never talk about this Rocket Grunt, but with a Cubone and a Marowak, no, he's not easy. But in this fight, I do have access to Rest luckily, so that solves our HM problem, since too many hits from Bone Club can deal some pretty serious damage. Plus the Drowsy ends up poisoning me, but luckily due to the AI being dumber than a box of rocks, I win the fight on the first try. You want to hear another trainer who I really should not bring up too much, but I do anyway? Giovanni. His first Pokemon, Nidorino, followed by Kangaskhan, are not hard. It's the Rhyhorn and the Nidoqueen that follow. On them, I have to use Sonic Boom and use Rest to stay healthy, but unfortunately Rhyhorn has Tail Whip, so it can lower my defense, but it could raise my attack at the same time due to the badge boost glitch. Unfortunately, I level up at the Nidoqueen, so there goes that attempt. This takes a few tries, but 6 resets into the run after I decided to use a couple of rare candies to get to level 38, not only for damage rounding, but also so I don't level up during the fight. This fight is still super hard and relies on a lot of luck, but luckily for me, Nidoqueen was generous on Poison Sting and Scratch instead of Body Slam, so I'm able to finally win. Now is the part where I can cause massive property damage to Silph, been a while since I've said that, and then I go on a gym leader murder spree, starting with Erica. Her Victory Bell can be a pain with Razor Leaf and Sleep Powder, but it fortunately goes for Poison Powder, and then I can defeat it. But then the Tangela gets me in a literal bind, literally, and then my health gets too low, so Rest to the rescue. When I wake up with 101 HP remaining, I spam Thunderbolt on the rest of the fight for the win. Next up, I fly to Fuchsia City, heal at the center, and take on the Poison Master Koga. His team is way easier in red version compared to yellow. His coughing are both 1-hits with Thunderbolt, but while Muck is a 2-hit and tries to set up with Minimize, I'm able to hit through it and move on to his final Pokemon, Weezing. I try to take it out with Thunderbolt and then it goes for Self-Destruct. I wasn't sure I could survive this attack, but by good fortune I live at 8 HP left, and then I get the Soul Badge, which lets me use Surf outside of battle and gives me a 12.5% boost to my speed stat, which is going to be really helpful for Magneton. I give the Warden his gold teeth back, get Strength, the Boulder Candy nearby, and then I surf to Cinnabar Island, get the Iron for some reason, the Carbos, both rare candies, and the secret key. I then dig out, get the TM for Mimic from Copycat in Saffron City, and then I enter the gym to take on the Psychic leader, Sabrina. Her team is weak to physical moves, so I go for Takedown, but it lives, so Kadabra is a 2-hit sadly. On Mr. Mime and Venomoth, I go for Thunderbolt to save power points and HP from recoil. I decided to go for it as well on Alakazam turn 1, and it uses Reflect on its first turn, so that was a good call. I was hoping for Paralysis, but I sadly do not get it. When I get it down to red health, I was going to be able to take it out with Takedown, but it goes for Psywave, which is usually a pretty trash move, but it deals more than 29 damage and I get a reset. Dang, who knew Psywave would cause a reset? On the following attempt on Alakazam, I get super fortunate and get a critical hit Thunderbolt that also paralyzed, so that was just so lucky. With the Marsh Badge acquired, it is now the arrival of the Blaine battle. This guy is the worst gym leader in the game, and that holds true in this fight. His Pokemon know no good moves at all, and most of them are 1-hits with Thunderbolt. While Arcanine does go for Fire Blast, it misses, and I get my 7th gym badge along with the final badge boost of 12.5 to my special stat. There's one more gym left, and it's the Forsaken ground type gym, Giovanni. This place also has rock types too. The cool trainer with the Rhyhorn I have to take down with physical moves, just like the Rhyhorn from the Giovanni battle in Silph. I thought I could try to mimic Tail Whip, and while I do get its defense down, it doesn't go down far enough, so I get a reset. I get a couple more resets before I realize there's actually a much better idea, so I decided to teach Toxic over Takedown so I can deal some chip damage in as I stall with Rest, but I do need to be careful, especially with Tail Whip. With that hard fight that should not have been hard out of the way, it is time for the final gym leader, Giovanni. I have a plan to mimic Dig from Dugtrio, but I have to take out his Rhyhorn first, so like before, I go for Toxic, and the plan now is to spam Rest to wait for it to knock itself out. But unfortunately, I'm still asleep on the Dugtrio, and then when I wake up, I misclick and use Rest again, and then I get knocked out. Yeah, I deserve that. On the next attempt, I am awake for Dugtrio, and I mimic Dig. And then when Dugtrio goes underground, since I outspeed, I can go underground before it gets to me. And then on the following Nidoqueen and Nidoking, I 2-hit it with Dig. And the good news is that Rhydon, due to good AI, it will only spam Fissure, and since I outspeed, it will never ever hit. Next up is Rival 6. I mimic Agility from Pidgeot to set up the badge boost glitch, and then when I level up, I get the chance to learn Swift, but deny it since I still need Toxic for Rhyhorn. I'm still asleep when the Execute is sent out, and then when I wake up it paralyzes me with Stun Spore, and since I have the Agilities, I still outspeed the Gyarados and the Alakazam, but then when I level up before Charizard, my speed goes down, and now the Charizard can outspeed me. It hits me with Flamethrower, I can't move, and then its next move is Leer, which does no damage, and then I can take it out and move on to the Pokemon League. Jeez, that was so close. As I go through the Victory Road, I get the rare candy, and skip all the trainers and enter the Pokemon League. I heal at the center, buy some full restores, and with my current moveset, I am ready to face the final 5 trainers. Let's do this shit. On Lorelei, the plan is to spam Thunderbolt. The Dewgong surprisingly does not go down in one hit, but it just goes for Growl, which does nothing. And that's when Slowbro comes out. I use the good old strat of mimicking Amnesia, setting it up, and just annihilating everything with Thunderbolt. On the Bruno, I take out the first Onix with Toxic. Unfortunately, the lead Onix does not have Dig like it does in Yellow, but Toxic still takes it out. On Hitmonchan, I was supposed to mimic Ice Punch for the second Onix, but I forgot to do that, so I just mimicked High Jump Kick off the Hitmonlee instead. And while it does take 3 hits to knock out the Onix, I am still able to win first try. Man, that would have been embarrassing losing to him. On Agatha, her first Gengar is way harder than it is in Yellow, since I cannot just mimic Substitute to set up safely, so I have to deal with the RNG bullshit of Confuse Ray and Hypnosis. I'll just cut to the winning attempt, which was attempt number 4. I was able to not get too bad of RNG, and then I have Thunderbolt on my side, so I persevere and achieve victory. Lance is not as difficult as you may think. If this was Yellow version, it would have been even easier, but instead of being able to mimic Ice Beam off Dragonair, I can just mimic Agility to badge boost my stats, to make sure I can outspeed the Dragonite and Aerodactyl. And with my stats boosted as far as I can get them, Thunderbolt is able to deal devastating damage to the dragons as well as Aerodactyl. There is one more trainer left, so let's move on to the champion, our rival. On Pidgeot, I take it out with 1 Thunderbolt. The Alakazam that follows goes down to 2 Thunderbolts. On the Rhydon, this is the last Pokemon I need Toxic for. I was supposed to mimic Wing Attack for the Exeggutor, so instead I decided to mimic Horn Drill, which I knew would only be a 30% chance to hit, but believe it or not, I actually got it on the first try, which actually surprised me. I was then able to take out the Gyarados and the Charizard, and thanks to good luck saving my ass, I get a final time of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 31 seconds, and a game time at the Hall of Fame of 2 hours and 58 minutes. Magneton was able to deal great damage with a Stab Thunderbolt with great special, but with low HP and having basically no moves against rock and ground types, this Pokemon felt quite bad to use, especially since I had to rely on the cheap strat of Toxic and Rest Stall. But this game is still quite interesting to play, and I can't wait to do more red runs. But we're not done yet. It is time for our bonus section. We'll be defeating Mewtwo along with Professor Oak. On Mewtwo, the plan is to poison it with Toxic and try and take it down from there. But on the first try, it takes me out in one hit with a critical hit Psychic. On the next try, I use Toxic while Mewtwo used Swift, and then Psychic hits me for great damage, lowering my special in the process, so that's the end of me. On attempt number 3, I use Toxic, and then I decide to mimic Barrier to raise my stats to try and survive, and then Mewtwo kept trying to set up on its own. And after I'm set up, I use Rest to heal and try and stall out Mewtwo, which even though Mewtwo tries to use Recover to stall the inevitable defeat, it still came anyway, and I have finally taken down Mewtwo. Now for the final battle in the run, Professor Oak. You know, I want to have an intro for this battle. What should it be? Oh, I know. On this battle, it is basically the same team as in Yellow. This fight took many tries to figure out since I kept getting defeated, mostly by either his Exeggutor with Hypnosis or Stomp, or his Venusaur putting me to sleep with Sleep Powder and using Growth into Solar Beam or Razor Leaf. On the winning attempt, I had to use some emergency rare candies to get to level 70, which I allow in the second round since the run's already over. I used 2 Thunderbolts to take out the Tauros, and then on Exeggutor, I used Toxic to take it out and spam with Rest. I tried my best to time it right so I wake up as soon as the next Pokemon comes out, which I don't get sadly, so Arcanine gets me down to 39 HP left, so I have to use Rest again. And once I'm at full health after using Rest twice for some reason, I mimic Ember just to deal with the Venusaur. I originally tried to mimic Growth, but Ember is just better. The final Pokemon is Gyarados, and it goes down with 1 Thunderbolt, allowing me to win the battle and finish the run. This is quite a nice run to do, to be honest, and it was a good break from the long DS games I've been doing as of late. We'll also be keeping to the shorter games for now. The next game I'll be introducing to the series is Pokemon Crystal, our first Johto game. We'll be running the game with Charizard as per usual for a live stream, and then the edited run will be Scizor. This Pokemon is quite popular, so I can't wait to see how it goes. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more. If you want to help the channel or me even further, you can join our Discord server or you can support me on Patreon. Once I get some patrons, I will start offering some benefits for my supporters. But if you don't want to do any of those things, like, comments, and subscriptions are good enough for me. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next speedrun.